all of a sudden I understood how important it is to live a life that is purposeful and meaningful. And you know, I was a really happy-go-lucky guy before. I mean, you would have met me, you would have thought like, wow, this guy is like on the moon. I was always full of energy. I'm a very social person, but I never took the time to do the self-work that we talked about the other day of
Mm-hmm.
finding out who I am and really digging deep into what it is that for me is a purposeful life. And when you are put into a situation where your life flashes in front of your eyes, that all starts coming to you. And yeah, that was a moment that I realized, like, if I don't get my act together and I don't figure out what I want to do in my life, other people will. And I won't live a life that I find fulfilling. So it was crazy, man. Like I was riding home, came off my bike. I was overtaking a car, came off my bike, hit the curb, helmet came flying off, hit the tree at 80 kilometers an hour.
Oh shit.
My whole face was like compressed in. My brain had severe hemorrhage because obviously the skull had like hit it. And I was lying face down in a puddle of my own blood, and lucky a car stopped and saw it, and they came, and they weren't sure at first what to do. So they weren't sure if they should touch me or not, but in the end they decided, okay, we should turn him onto the recovery position. And when they did, I literally started coughing out blood and started breathing again. If they wouldn't have turned me, I would have died.
Right.
And then I got taken to the hospital and in ICU for 10 days in a coma to kind of like reduce the swelling. And honestly, if this wouldn't have happened in Singapore, with one, the ambulance coming so fast, two, the paramedics, you know, on the scene were amazing, and from what I hear, and then the ICU, you know, I was in the Singapore General Hospital, and you know, it's a public hospital, but it was just the most incredible care that you could ever imagine. I mean, the top neurosurgeons are there, and I had such amazing treatment. So since then, you know, I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to live in Singapore as well.
Wow, thank God for that. It's just sending shivers down my spine. You recounting the experience and telling me, yeah, wow. And this was how many years back did this happen?
It happened in 2016.
Okay, so
So
not too
4 years ago.
long ago, right?
Not
Yeah,
too long ago. Yeah,
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 but
yeah.
amazing transformation, as with all, you know, trauma we experience in life, or, you know, life-changing experiences, right? So I've actually started the recording already, and that's gonna also be a part of the interview, and I post it up on YouTube, right? So
Nice, nice.
thank you so much for availing your time, right, Yannick, founder or co-founder of Aquaspin, right, together with your partner, your wife right now, who you
Yeah.
founded it together. And maybe we can start off the interview proper by you just sharing a little bit more about yourself. I mean, we've heard about that life-changing experience from 4 years back when you were in a motorbike accident, but maybe a little bit more about the work that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started off in life realizing I was a people's person at a young age, and started working in restaurants when I was young. I really loved it. And I'm Swiss originally. So I found a hotel school. I was living in Australia. I found a hotel school in Switzerland, which is one of the best in the world. And I decided that I wanted to go and study hospitality. So I embarked on a journey to travel across the world when I was 18 and leave my parents, and studied at hotel school in Lausanne, which was an incredible school because it teaches you a lot about life and about not just the theory of life, but also the interpersonal skills that you need to have, the emotional empathy that you need to have towards staff, and all these kinds of things. As any young graduate, I knew that money was very important, and I wanted to make lots of it. So I got attracted by the financial industry. I worked in wealth management for 2 years before I realized that my soul was getting destroyed. And that's where Alicia and I had the idea to start Aquaspin, because she had been practicing aqua biking in France for a number of years, and it helped her recover so well from a number of knee injuries that she had from sports and ballet. And literally it gave her life again, because her doctor said you can never, do any intense sports ever again in your life. And she was like, well, okay, that sucks. So one of the solutions was aqua biking, and it helped to completely re-solidify her knee. And now she can, she's not pain-free all the time, but she's been able to rehabilitate herself. And hearing her story and like the ability that's had on her, then I was like, okay, we need to make this available to more people. And Singapore being amazing, in terms of weather and the number of pools, we thought, hey, let's bring this to Singapore. So we brought the concept over from Europe, and it's just been an incredible journey.
And I think it's also quite interesting to note that there have not been any other competitors in the market, right? Because as far as I know, Aquaspin is the only service provider for aquaspinning in Singapore.
Yeah, in Singapore, we're the only ones. And even throughout most of Southeast Asia, we are still one of the only. I think there's a few people who have tried here and there. But one thing that we did early on, and I think that's thanks to the fact that I like to think that I'm relatively business orientated, and Alicia's got a very strong marketing background and branding background. We were very straight away thinking about creating a brand, creating an ethos around the company. We're really stringent on SOPs. In the hospitality industry, you have to have everything standardized, and operations is really important. So I think because we were so stringent on doing all that very early on, we grew quite tremendously in Singapore, but also overseas through a franchise model. And because we've implemented ourselves in this area, I think we've set the bar quite high for other entrants to come in. But or maybe, just no one else has seen the opportunity. But I'd hope so, that we've built a business that really thrives.
Yeah, and I mean the training or education you had in hotel school definitely helped with the SOPs and with the operations, and building a franchise is not an easy business decision, right? So I mean, kudos to you and Elisa, for building. You're in how many cities or countries already? 4, right, or 5?
So Singapore at the moment, with Dubai, Australia, and then we're opening up in Malaysia. We were meant to open up earlier this year, but obviously things have taken a back seat. And we've got interest in a number of other Southeast Asian markets.
Nice. And with the expansion, right, into the different countries and different cities, do you work on a JV model, or is it purely a franchise model that you're going with?
So at the moment, we're reviewing our whole franchise model. Originally, it was a license model because that was easier to kind of get into the market. There's less, you need to provide less things. And then we kind of upgraded as the business grew, as we provided more standardized operations and other tangible products that we can provide them. We were able to escalate that higher and higher. And now we've kind of gone into like a proper franchise model, and we're going to be developing a master franchise with sub-franchisees in each market.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that. Then very soon you will be joining all these franchise exhibitions. Okay, maybe not in-person kind of exhibitions, right? But there are quite a number of these exhibitions available internationally for you to showcase, right?
Yeah, exhibitions is a funny thing. I think it's one of those things that a lot of the big companies feel like they need to be part of. And I think when you have a reputable brand, it's important to be part of. But now I think you can get so much more ROI from different streams. I mean, you look at F45, for example, they don't do many exhibitions. They do a lot of Instagram ads. They're very targeted with who they target their ads at. So yeah, I think you have to be open-minded in the way that you kind of get your message out. But yeah, you know, we're still young founders and small business minded in terms of making sure there's an ROI in everything that we do, and we're very wary of that.
Yeah, that's always important to be mindful of, right? Because you need to manage your cash flow before you decide to expand too quickly, right? Earlier, just now, you mentioned your brand ethos, right? Is very strong, and this whole interview is about community building, right? Building community. How
Yeah.
much of community have you actually built into the branding ethos of Aquaspin?
Yeah, I think branding is such an important topic that I mean I'm very lucky that I was in sales from a young age, you know, and I think sales teaches you a lot about rejection and about a lot of personal traits that you need to have. But branding is such an interesting dynamic because, and that's where Elisa's brain comes in handy, because it's emotions. It's all about creating emotions in people, right? And I'm passionate about human behavior, and branding kind of intertwines with that so well. So you talked about personal branding and the importance of personal branding, and I think that personal branding is everything, but also you have to be aware of what kind of direction you want to go. If you want to be the face of the brand, then yeah, personal branding is going to be, or the product is based around you. But we were really aware of, as from an early stage, that we wanted to go into more of a brand that is not directly connected to us. But we still were aware that we wanted to make sure that we had the right purpose as a company and as a brand, and this is what we represent. So Alicia was very clear when she was designing the brand strategy and all that kind of stuff about what is it that we stand for, what are our values. So now, you know, when you ask me, you know, what do we stand for, I can tell you we're here to enrich people's lives through fitness, and we believe in human potential. We believe in you know, self-love, because once you start loving yourself, it starts transcending to others as well. And that's why we were very focused on what is the language that we use as a brand, what is it that we represent, and how we communicate that out to the world.
And from I mean, question to follow up would be, you know, the community building aspect, right? Which is what I asked earlier about. How much of community is a part of this whole value proposition, as well as language that you use?
Yeah, I mean, community is huge. It's everything right now, right? I mean, human behavior is all about tribes and communities. We want to be together, and that's why I think fitness is so powerful, because it brings people together. So, you know, we as a company, we haven't really done so much to focus on it. It's all come organically. We
Mm-hmm.
believe in organic growth.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that if we empower people enough in the right ways, they feel like they are representative of the brand, and they will help build the community around us. So from an early stage, we started sharing a lot of our client stories. And that was Alicia's, you know, kind of push, because she wanted to get everyone's message out there. And it's just been so valuable, because it helps people recognize themselves in our clients and say, oh, well, that's what I'm going through. Oh, if she or he managed to overcome that, then there's hope for me too. So you know, we're constantly pushing in terms of eyeballs and trying to get people's attention, and it's a very difficult space right now in terms of social media, all the content that's available. But we just try to keep it real and just keep it as raw as possible in terms of, hey, this is Susan. This is what she's gone through. This is how Susan feels. And then that way she shares her story, it empowers someone else around her. And then when they meet by the pool, you know, it's like, oh, hey, Susan, I heard your story. What an amazing journey you've been through. And then they get talking. So that's how we kind of know that we're doing the right job. People are talking with each other. We see people laughing and sometimes crying together before and after class, especially in Singapore, where it's such a transient community. You know, there's constantly people who are getting posted overseas or coming back, or So, sometimes we'll see someone come back to the community and there'll be hugs everywhere. Well, not right now, but usually there's hugs everywhere. And it's so gratifying to see that, like that's something that we love seeing as owners of the business and as trainers, to see people have that connection with each other. And we've seen people kind of, as with any habit, you kind of drift off and you change or you find something new. The number of clients that we haven't had to do anything and they've been brought back by the community, that's really enriching. Like that's really empowering for us. And that's where we see the ROI on everything that we do for a community.
Nice. So from what I'm hearing, the community essentially is the archetypes that you created, who are your existing clients as well as potential clients. And how do you then replicate this entire process for your franchisees to also follow? I think this is something would be very a good learning for people to understand as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the hardest thing about franchising is that,
Yeah.
I have an energy and I have it's something that I have here, but it's very hard to put it somewhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're so adamant about what we stand for and the purpose of the business. Because when we look at bringing on board other franchisees, the number one thing that we look for is that heart-to-heart connection.
Mm.
Even with a business, we work with the hotel in Dubai, and it's because the connection as a hotel manager we had with her that we were like, okay, you believe in what we believe. And that's the great thing about hotels. I mean, you worked in the hotel business. People love people in the hotel business, and that's why it's so easy to work together. Another franchisee that we have, she's a young girl who had so much energy, so much passion for what she was doing. She was working in the fitness industry and she truly wanted to help people. So that's kind of what we look for in a franchisee. Then, of course, the financial model needs to work. But the great thing about our model is that it's very low capex and it's very high in terms of variable costs. So, any cost comes as a variable cost. So during the coronavirus, we've been able to withstand it all because our costs went down as our revenue went down. Now, when revenue starts picking up again, of course, we're happy to pay a bit more because that's we're making more money. But yeah, I think finding people with the same vision and then communicating what our purpose is through to them, it's super important, because if we don't communicate our vision and our purpose as a company, what we stand for, and we constantly reinforce it, then it gets lost. So everything that we do, we make sure that we bring it back to how are we enriching people's lives through health and fitness? What are we doing to empower them as people? And that becomes the ethos of the company. And when that becomes the ethos of the company, it gets felt to the client, to the end client. Unless it's truly lived as the founders, as the management and all that, then it never gets through to the end client.
And I'm sure there has to be very stringent selection as well as training for the trainers, right? Who actually have that face-to-face interaction with the clients. Is there anything that they, like a rule book, a 1, 2, 3, or a 1 to 10 that they have to follow on a class by class basis, or is it really this is the training that is done and you just go with the flow?
Yeah, you hit it on the nail on the head there. I mean, you have to remember that your front desk staff and your trainers represent you every single day, because they're the ones who are the face of the company. They're the ones that the client sees. You can do all the social media you want. Your website can look amazing, but at the end of the day, they're the ones who have that connection with the clients. And we are really stringent on, one, the selection process. There's certain things you can teach. There's certain things you can't teach. And, a person who has a truly good heart, who wants to help people, you can tell that straight away. When you meet someone, you're like, I like that person. They have a good energy, right? And that's what we look for, number one, in a trainer, is that they have that right energy. They feel good. And then we can teach them. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can teach, but you can't teach that power, that enthusiasm, that energy, which can make or break every class. And as much as I would like to say, oh, everything is that we do is all the success that we've had is thanks to all the training that we do and all that, it's bullshit. Let's be honest. Because we've recruited the right people, we've been able to build everything that we have. Because if you don't have the right people representing you, I mean, no matter how good your training is, it's worthless. So yeah, we've got a 3-day certification program, which is accredited by ACE. It's accredited by Fitness Australia, which was the hardest to kind of get through. We've jumped a lot of hoops. We've made it like a world-class certification and everything. Don't get me wrong. Our training is super, super intense. But end of the day, if that person doesn't have the energy and the passion in the beginning, it probably won't transpire through.
And what would you say is the stay rate of the instructors that have started with you? I mean, all of them are still, what's the turnover rate, of instructors that are actually instructing for Aquaspin at the moment?
Yeah, so we started the company 8 years ago, nearly now, coming on our 8th birthday. And honestly, we've got one guy who's been with our first recruit is still with us.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah. we've had a couple here and there who have come and gone, but that's also because Singapore's so transient. Some people have left the country. We've had a couple of people move on because, personally they wanted to either devote themselves to their own business and build up their own businesses. And, I really believe that there's that age-old saying of the CEO saying, oh, what if we spend so much money on training someone and they leave? And the HR is like, well, what if we spend so much, if we don't spend any money on them and they stay? And, I want to not only empower our clients to be their best selves and to live an amazing life, but I also want our instructors and our staff to live a fulfilling life. And if that means going on their own and doing what they want to do in life, then go by. If I can help you in any way to kind of build your personal brand, to help you in any way that I can in terms of business knowledge, I'm here to help. That's what I truly believe in. And by doing that, you kind of build an ethos within a company that's a core group, which is there through thick and thin. And what we've seen through the coronavirus has helped to kind of implement that, is that from a managing perspective, we said, look, you guys are like family to us. We will stick this out. We took a pay cut, but we didn't give any pay cuts to our employees, because we believe that without them, that we have nothing. So, it's helped to really create that bond on a deeper basis.
Oh, I love that. I love that mindset. It's about walking the talk, and really being not just the boss, right, but being a leader of the entire company. And another thing would be, what about engagement of the community? What are the channels or platforms that it's being done, or is it purely just only when they come for class, and that's where the brand ethos as well as the messaging on community is being pushed out through the instructors?
Yeah, I mean, the client journey starts from the first time they see your brand. So be it on your website, be it on social media, you have to be very aware of how you communicate and what language you're using, all that. So we really make it clear that we're a very welcoming community, and that's because we understand our customer now. Most of our customers usually are not going to go to a traditional gym because either they feel like they don't belong there, or they have an injury, or they've gone through postnatal or they're prenatal. Or so we want to make sure that they feel like this is an inclusive environment. And it's funny because the water gives them that sense of comfort. And I don't know if it's the womb, we're in the womb, we're in water, but water has this incredible way of making people feel like they're safe. They're in a safe place. And I just love seeing the fact that once everyone gets in the water, like, yeah, okay, you get into a bikini or into your swimwear, and it's always a little bit uncomfortable time for anyone. And then they jump into the water and you kind of see that all disappear. And all of those self-doubts that people have, it just disappears. And everyone kind of gets into that groove of things, and the fitness class is going really well. And then you see them laughing and clapping and like high-fiving after class. And it's just like, and you can do that in the chlorine water because it kills any germs. But no, it's so empowering to see that. So I think what you said is really important. We need to make sure that our language from the beginning says we are an inclusive community. We are here to help each other, and then you reinforce it when they come, because when they come, your instructor makes sure that you welcome them to the class, tries to introduce you to someone so that you can kind of hit it off, and then you straight away feel that you're part of the group. And you have to be emotionally aware as an instructor of what's going on. And maybe you'll see like Sarah's not talking to anyone in the group. Let's try to get Sarah in by like asking her a question about what she did last weekend. And then she'll start sharing it. And then as she starts sharing it, she's talking with a group, and then you can go and do your own thing. But it's constantly being aware of that.
Nice. Yeah. This and I guess this comes on as part of the training, class awareness, right? I mean, as a teacher, that's also what I used to do, where you notice that there are some guys that are not being included in the activities, and you need to just engage them in conversation and get the other group to get them to join in or something like that, right? What about success stories, right? You talk a lot about the community in Singapore being transient, where people come and go all the time. So I guess the people that actually come for your Aquaspin classes might be here for a month, and then they're off for a month, and then they're back again for a month. But how do you measure the success of this community? Is it the number of franchises you sell? Is it the number of existing members that are using the platform to book for classes? What is your own measure for community?
It's very hard to measure. I mean, it's kind of like marketing 10 years ago, right? Marketing 10 years ago was like you put an ad in a newspaper and you don't know how many people have seen it. Now with social media, you can kind of track things a bit more. So we use social media as a kind of marker in terms of how many views are we getting, how many comments, especially. It's not about the number of followers that we have. It's the engagement of the community that we have within our social media. And Facebook has been great for that as well, because people like to interact more. Maybe it's a demographic of the market that we're getting, but we see a lot more engagement in terms of people speaking to each other on Facebook and adding each other as friends. And then WhatsApp has been amazing. I mean, honestly, we don't actually actively do any WhatsApp groups, but we keep in close contact with the leaders that we kind of see within our community. And they will tend to add people into their WhatsApp groups, and that then creates a little cluster of people who catch up for for coffees or something. And because of the locations that we have our classes, it's always nice hotels or country clubs. People usually will go for a coffee after class and catch up and have a chat. And that's kind of how we measure things. It's from a metrics perspective and from a financials, it's not like data driven. We don't have like, okay, this is the number of people that we have, except for the social media side that we can count that. But we kind of go by feeling, and we see like, okay, how many people were chatting and laughing together before class? How many people just left straight away after class? That's a good indicator that, okay, we need to do a little bit more community building. And then if that's the case, we see people, quickly being quite transient the way they leave. We'll start doing more, like we do sometimes Discover Singapore. So we'll go for a community walk around, like we went to Sungai Buloh, because there's a place that people don't really know of. We went and did the, what's that? Alexandra kind of,
the treetop walk, right? At Alexandra.
That treetop walk.
And McRitchie.
We did a few. Yeah, we haven't done McRitchie because McRitchie is very well known. We try to go to like places that are a bit like off the beaten path. And a lot of people have been living in Singapore for a long time, and they kind of like, oh, Singapore, you get bored. It's like, if you haven't been like to all of these different places, don't tell me Singapore's boring, because there's so many amazing places to go discover. But it's normal. We get into our comfort zone, and we kind of do what we like to do. But that's why we try to kind of bring them out and outside of their comfort zone and try different things.
So interesting you mentioned this, because I'm Singaporean and I lived here for 4 decades of my life, right? Born and bred here. And recently a friend of mine posted on his social media, and he was doing a night walk at MacRitchie and sharing about the sort of things he was seeing. And it's amazing. And I didn't know that, scorpions were crawling all over the trail and on the trees, glowing in the dark. If you were to go for a night trail at MacRitchie, and all along you think that, I actually need to be doing this in maybe Kota Kinabalu, or going to Malaysia into the tropical primary forest to be seeing all these things, right? Yeah, so definitely a lot more to discover. You mentioned that the demographic that you have, would you say is more expat lady centric, or how would you weigh that?
We're definitely female dominant. I think that's the nature of group fitness. And also, funny enough, we found that women are more willing to take a chance on something they don't know, whereas men are quite stuck in their ways. And being aquatic fitness, it is something that a lot of people think, oh, well, that's going to be easy. And then I love seeing any husband's face who gets dragged by his wife, tries a class, and then you straight away see in 5 minutes, like, they're like, whoa, okay. But yeah, it's taken us a while to kind of refine who our target audience is, because we can honestly, we can help athletes to get faster and fitter. We can help the normal person. We can help pre-postnatal. There's such a vast array of people that we can have an impact on. But we've kind of figured out who our target market is, and yeah, it's definitely female of a certain age. Let's be honest. We are targeting usually between the 35s to kind of 45, 50-year-old, and then from we have a very good mix of like local to foreign students. I mean, it's actually probably 70% Singaporean to probably 30%. Yeah, and I think that's reflective of the instructors now. In the beginning, when it was Alicia and I who were doing all the teaching, we had a predominantly French population, because that's where kind of our backgrounds coming through. But then as we started having a much more Singaporean workforce, we started attracting a lot more Singaporean business. And that's great. I mean, we're a local company, and, we call Singapore home. And we want to empower anyone through fitness, not just, one segment of the population.
Nice. And remember the conversation we had the other day, right? You were talking about the larger fitness community. What sort of efforts are you making to try to engage this larger fitness community? Because right now, if we talk about community, it's really purely the Aquaspin community. And maybe it's just the first degree network of this community that are existingly your clients. But what sort of efforts would you want to be doing? Or maybe you already are doing it. Maybe you have it planned, right, to reach the greater fitness community.
I think we've realized that we have a very specific target that we segment, and that's people who are going through rehab, weight loss, postnatal. So we've gone and worked with more chiropractors, physiotherapists, creating those kinds of connections, because we've found that we can be a very good stepping stone from a physiotherapy to CrossFit. But it might be a bit of a leap to go straight from knee reconstruction, doing some physiotherapy, straight back into CrossFit. So we're kind of the middleman, helping to bring people back into the fitness industry, especially postnatal. I mean, we've seen we've got some incredibly fit clients you know, who then you go through pregnancy, and obviously, you know, it's one of the most amazing things in the world, but obviously your body takes a huge beating out of it. And they use Aquaspin as a way to kind of keep fit during their pregnancy, because especially the third trimester, they really can't do much in terms of bouncing, but the water gives them that freedom. And then postnatal, they kind of can get back into it. So we do tie-ups with rehab and surgeons and doctors and things like that. In terms of the greater fitness community, I think there needs to be more. You know, we're definitely not from the ethos of being competitors with others, but we try to work with as many brands as we can who, again, share the same ethos as us.
Okay, yeah, good to hear that. And I mean, we're coming to almost the end of the session, but maybe what if, let's say there were somebody, I mean, you've had the brand for 8 years already, and things have been, you know, there were ups and downs, right? Maybe you could share a bit more of the challenges, right? Such that anybody who wants to be embarking on something on their own at the moment as a solopreneur or self-starter, they might be able to avoid these blind spots.
Yeah, I mean, from a community standpoint, that's the whole basis, right? Is that honestly, it takes time. It takes time, man. Like, I remember we would like say, okay, we're gonna launch the you know, the walks campaign, and like we would take people out for walks and everything. And in the beginning, we're only having 2, 3, 4 people, and it's okay. You know, it takes time to build those things up. Include your instructors, include your admin, include your finance person, because end of the day, you know, they all share something that's for the greater good. Don't be exclusive in your community, and you know, don't try to say, oh, this is only for the fittest ones part of our community, or it's not a competition. We're all in it, you know, together. And I think, yeah, don't be exclusive if you can. I mean, try to be inclusive as you can in your company. You might be exclusive in what you offer to the greater world, but internally, yeah, be as inclusive as you can. Make people feel like they're part of something. You know, we're all human. We all have feelings. And I think if you have empathy, if you have the emotional intelligence to go deep, you're going to create incredible client retention. Because I mean, if we look at our client retention, honestly, when we compare it to other companies, we're like, wow, it's insane. Like, I was really drumming down on like, we had a management kind of talk, and I was like, guys, this is not good enough. And then when I kind of looked at the numbers across the industry, I was like, oh wow, okay, no, we're doing really well. And that's because we're so inclusive. We honestly create that connection. And you know, one of our managers, Rizwan, he's just incredible, because he spends time on WhatsApp, just WhatsApping all of our clients all the time. And then he sees them, and we all try to be as bubbly as we can when we see our clients again, because it comes from the heart. We're truly happy to see each other again. And yeah, people come back to a safe space that they like. And that's probably the most important. It takes time, be inclusive, and have fun while you're doing it. I mean, you know, like, money will come if you're having fun, trust me.
I really like the part on the empathy, you know, and how all this translates to everyone in the company, and that inclusivity doesn't just mean the client, but it also includes every single person in the company, from the finance to the admin to the instructors, and you know, to you guys who are management, right? So yeah, it's definitely lots of good takeaways from this session, right? How about from a business perspective, right? Not from a community perspective. Just one tip that, you know, somebody should be looking out for if they were to come out and start a group class sort of a business.
Purpose, man. It's all about purpose. Trust me, it's hard. There's moments, I mean, you know, Alex, you've been through this game. There's moments where like, motivation comes and goes. It's not going to keep you up all the time. So if you don't have something, if you don't understand your why, then trust me, you'll be like, you'll wake up one day and like, fuck, I'll give it up. But if you have that purpose and you do that internal work and you figure out what really means this to Yannick, then that transcribes to others. And that's the most powerful thing you can do. It's probably a little bit cliche, but it's hard to do that work internally. Once you do it, it bears its fruits for the rest of your life.
I think we know purpose, which is why we talk about it like it is easy to do, right? But actually, it took quite long for each of us to actually find it and discover it. And surprisingly enough, there have been people that I've met who actually don't even know their purpose, right? They've been doing what they're doing for a long time. If you ask them point blank, what's your purpose? They can't actually answer that question. And since we're on the topic of purpose also, just sharing with you, recently an ex student player of mine, water polo, I used to train him, and he contacted me randomly and said, hey, Alex, just maybe can I do a catch-up chat with you, right? So he did really well in school, went to the best schools, now he's working at Deloitte as an auditor, and he's saying that I'm not sure whether this is my life purpose, and at that age, I think he's in early 20s, right? He's mid 20s, asking about purpose. I told him to go and read the book What's Your Why, sent him a couple of YouTube clips on Simon Sinek, and really ask yourself these questions and what really is your life purpose, right? Because you want to do something that can pay the bills. You also want to be doing something that you want to wake up every day being excited about. And sometimes I wish that I knew that when I was in my mid-20s, but maybe discovering it late like I did in my late 30s is not that bad a thing either, right? So so that's a little...
And thanks for sharing, Alex. And it's super powerful, man. I mean, and everything comes at its own time. We have to also trust in life and the journey that we're on. But you can help that along by just doing stuff. We talked about this the other day. It's like not aimlessly just doing stuff, but doing things with intent. Like the other day, I went for a casting because I got messaged out of the blue and someone wanted me to do a cast. That's why I shaved my beard, because they want me to shave on camera. And I was like, sure, why not? They pay quite handsomely. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I was doing this casting and they're like, okay, you have to shave like this and show us. And, it opened my mind to like modeling, right? Like anyone can do that. There are so many intricacies. She was like, okay, push your jawline this way and up that way. And these small things that you only find out when you're doing it. So, working as a waiter, I learned so many incredible talents and how to manage people on the spot. Like in 10 seconds, you have to read them. This whole modeling thing, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Like all these skills come from trying things. And people get stuck in like you said, they'll work at Deloitte for 10, 20, 30 years, wake up at the age of 50 and be like, I hate my life. Take a chance, try different things. And you don't have to quit your job. Just, as a side hustle, try something else.
Yeah, so it's good. I mean, and I think one of the compass of why I do what I do is to help people understand a lot of this, right? And it's good that I'm able to speak to younger guys to try and put them in the right path before they make whatever decisions that they want to. Yeah. Anyway, we've come to the end of the session, Yannick. It's been very nice speaking to you. I'm going to take a screenshot right now.
All right.
Okay, and then I'm going to also raise my hand. You can either raise your hand or you can do a thumbs up to you, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'll send this to you.